Yeah, I'll just put together this question. Actually, I have a question. This question for a longer time. This is about Thuriam. I remember hearing the other lectures, spiritual lectures. They always says Thuriam is kind of a fourth state. Like say, let me put it together like this. I won't say state. So that's a consciousness. And mind is, if it is in a waking state, that is one state, and then dream state, and then we have deep sleep state. And they always say there is a state between deep sleep and waking that's called Thuriam. But my understanding is Thuriam, I would say, is a consciousness. So when we talk about Thuriam, Thuriatheetham, are we talking about that state? Or I don't want to use the word state. State is not the right word. I don't know how to. Maybe you can.
So generally, we talk about three states, right? Awake state, dream state, subconscious state. Thuriam is timeless state. Okay, so that's, you can say state. It's not a problem. It's timelessness. The first time you experience godliness is when you go beyond time. And Thuriam is a state where, or Thuriam is a situation, or Thuriam is a meditation, or Thuriam is a scenario where you become timeless. Okay? According to Maharishi, there are four states or four properties of divinity. First is plenum, Vatrayirupu, they call in Tamil. Plenum, it's ever existence. Force, something that's behind all the karma and karmic actions. Consciousness, which is the order of functioning of everything in this world, followed by time. So it's all the properties of divinity, not the divine itself. So when we say property, when infinite manifests itself into a finite form, that is what we call as property. So for instance, I have infinite amount of thought process, but I express it in a certain way. That's my property or personality in a human being. So, in order to go back to the divine state, there's two ways to do it. One is to completely expand yourself, go beyond karmic existence, or you traverse back into the state. So this is a hybrid approach where you traverse back in time, where you slowly understand what is time, consciousness, the force behind everything, plenum, ever existence, into the infinity and go beyond the finite form. So that's what Maharishi teaches in Thuriatheetham meditation. It's not new, but his technique is new. It's something new that he found out can be easily followed by people. So the word, as I said some time back, Thuriam itself means a bull. Okay, so no wonder in most of the Shiva temple you have the bull right in front of the Shiva's idol, where it faces the divinity, which is formless, existent in a shape called linga. So in order to face that, you need to take it by horn. And that is Thuriam, or the other meaning of that is the bull. So that's a symbolic representation of how you can face the divinity. And time consciousness or time awareness is what comes in Thuriam state. If you really are in Thuriam state, you will definitely lose time sense or time sense of birth and death into a sequential existence where time becomes immaterial. Then you will understand what time is. So that's, if you want to call it fourth dimension, fourth state, you can call it that way. So it depends on whichever way you want to call it, but that's what you generally experience in Thuriam state.
Yeah, it's almost like a deep sleep. We don't find that time, right? So between deep sleep and
this is beyond deep sleep. So you have to go progressive. Okay, so awakening, subconscious, deep sleep, beyond deep sleep, which means beyond time. So these three states have a time frame constraint. People will say, like, when you are in deep sleep, you don't feel the time, but there is a body clock that still works and wakes you up from the deep sleep. Else you're dead. So this is a state where you are dead and undead together. And the first experience of death and undeath is what you find in Thuriam.
So Thuriatheetham, right? So okay, so we can achieve that state, right, by doing this.
Obviously, it's
Yes.
yes, definitely you can achieve that state. And that's the whole idea behind all this teaching. So again, there is two forms to it, one philosophical and one scientific form, okay? In philosophical form, you don't question things. In scientific form, you question things because each one operates in a different medium or mode, okay? What is scientific term is you need to have a reason for everything. If you don't find a reason, there is no reason to believe it. It's a blind faith on one, reproducible, two, have a proper explanation what is going on. Okay. Most of the what I would say, non spiritually advanced master who seek refuge and try to cheat people, unfortunately, stick to the philosophical part where they say that, oh, this is philosophy, you have to experience it, you cannot explain it. Unfortunately, that is wrong. Okay? You will be able to experience it provided you get the aspirants to the same state of mind that you are in. That's exactly what Maharishi is trying to do when he is giving all this initiation, is he's trying to get into a state of mind where he was, and then make you understand, give a reasonable science. That's when philosophy meets science. You cannot blindly say that, oh, this is God, godly existence, and say, oh, that is, you can only experience it. Yes, you cannot use your five senses to understand it. Definitely not. But then, if you have to go beyond your sixth sense, prove it to me that you can go beyond sixth sense. How can you do that? Most people don't. They just simply get into a refuge, into a state where it says, oh, it's philosophy. Don't ask me, don't ask questions. If you ask questions, it's blasphemy. And you're against the divine nature and everything. Honestly speaking, divine nature has no magic in it. Sun rises exactly what it is precisely. You have a mathematical precision to calculate every single day, not now, even beyond futures. Okay? With the modern science technology, we think that, oh, it's advanced. No, in the past, people have predicted eclipse. People have predicted. Oh, by the way, hopefully you all enjoyed the eclipse that happened here. I did, and it was right by my desk, and it was like one eye on the eclipse and one eye on the work. So beautiful phenomena. So right from the beginning, as soon as people started understanding space and universe, they were able to predict to extreme precisions these natural occurrences. So if you say that nature is unpredictable, consciousness, according to Maharishi, is called order of functioning. There is an order in which a function is supposed to happen. If you are going to be a human and you are going to produce, you will be producing a human being. Anomaly is 0.0001%, which is very, very rare. Okay? You can have different forms, but you are still human. You can have a deformity, you can have a highly formativeness, but still you can only produce a human. Evolution does happen, mutation does happen, but there is an order in which it does happen. Then people might ask, what about the gene theory and the genomes that are happening and GMOs that we are genetically modified stuff and everything? It is part of nature. Genetics and has happened many years. How do you think a monkey suddenly becomes a highly evolved conscious being? There must be a mutation somewhere. But nature has its way of having its mutation. You force cross-circuit it and make it faster is difficult. One time when I was in a conference, when Sky had a conference, and an extreme geologist from Singapore was extremely unhappy when we were using the silver iodide. I don't know how many of you know silver iodide to create rain, artificial rain, and they just, when the clouds are formed, they just drop in the silver iodide on through the airplane, and then it just falls. The rain just comes in, which is not against the nature. So I did ask him a question: why is that good? He simply said that it's like an abortion. Okay, a child have to, I mean, again, is his word, a child has to be born. If it has to take 9 physical month or 10 lunar month, you pull it out beforehand, it's like abortion or prematuring a baby. It's extremely bad. If it has to happen, then the nature has a way to do it. There are children who are born 29 weeks, 30 weeks, 32 weeks. Before the 36 full weeks, we are supposed to be a fully grown baby. But there is a reason why it happens. You induce it, force it. Unfortunately, I'm extremely unhappy because I'm from a community where people are very precise about time and time calculation. They go to these people and then they do C-sections at a very particular time. I was appalled when few of my friends were puzzled into it. I just blasted them saying, "You are an engineer. Don't you have a complete sense?" He says, "Oh, philosophy is beyond reasoning. You cannot do that." I said, "You are extremely wrong. Okay? If you have any sense, please to go to some like Maharishi, go and ask them. They will tell you philosophy is not an excuse for not reasoning. There is a reason why if you can't understand something in Thuriam through your 5 senses, definitely you cannot. I can guarantee that. Bring the person to understand what Thuriam is. And when you are in Thuriam, try to explain them. You will definitely don't need the words. You will definitely be looking at the person with a smile. You can communicate what exactly happened through this process. And that is what means science merges philosophy, is unless and until you don't make a person experience a certain state, do not claim it. The same thing happened when Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Vivekananda went to Ramakrishna Paramahamsa and asked him many questions later. He asked him, have you seen God? He simply said, yes, closer than where you are. So he was sitting like right next to each other. He said, I have not seen God. I'm experiencing God closer than the closest you have. He looked around and he says like, there's only 2 people here, you and me. He said like, no. Between you and me, there is one more entity that is available, which is reason for our communication. And that entity is what I, at this moment, call as God. There are many things that you're talking. There are many things that you don't talk. This extreme entity is helping me to understand what you have not told me. And that's the reason why I'm able to constantly smile at you and answer all your questions. That came the answer from Swami Narendra at the time. Can I experience that? He said, yeah, certainly, 100%. You can. Can you teach me now? He said, like, no. He turned around and called one of his disciples who has been a doctor, physician, or most of his life. Dr. Ananda is a physician. You probably might know the story. Turned around and asked him, how long did it take you to become an experienced physician right now, where you just look at a person and can diagnose the person's head to toe? He said, around 30 years I've been practicing, and that's when I came to know this. Then he turned around and said, will you go to a physician who is experienced like this, and or the person who is training under him over so many years, Or you will just go to somebody who took a book and read something and said like, oh, that's how you do a tracheotomy. You just cut throat, put a tube in it, you had done it. Who will you go to? He said, definitely the experience and whoever is learning under this experience, eminent experienced person. That's what he said, turned around and said, you just came to me right now. What do you expect me to do? Just show you God like that? No. There are techniques, there are philosophies. You have to assess yourself. I have to assess myself. Learn from me. First form of Diksha is the learning process. Open your mind, keep your mind open, learn from me. When you learn, you will then get into understanding of why you are in this phase of learning. Then I can reason you, and then we together we can experience the medium which you call God in your own way, me God in my own way, but we will converge into one point. We just simply looked at him and said, like, that's reasonable. I'll take you as my guru and then I'll learn under you. And the world has experienced one of the most extremely celebrated Guru Sishya Parampara, or the teacher disciple. Even now, if you have to give an example of the best teacher and the best student, they always quote Ramakrishna Paramahamsa and Vivekananda. There is no better explanation of a best student and disciple. Even though Vivekananda outperformed in the materialistic world and lived only up to 36 years or 39, somewhere around that, he was able to give extreme knowledge in volumes and volumes of book. And when his time came, he simply said, I've experienced divinity. I tried to explain divinity. It's completely explainable, and you can go into infinity through experiencing them in the materialistic world. It's highly possible. There is no philosophy in this world that cannot be explained in science, reasonable way. If somebody tells you that, please move away from the person. Definitely, everything has a reason and everything is in order in which it's done. You can experience this by either becoming a plenum of these four properties, by becoming everything that you see, okay? Or you become the force that changes it, or you become the way in which the order it functions, or you just simply become unbounded by the birth and death, which is timelessness. Either way, the manifestation will come and explore and explain to you. If somebody says they cannot reasonably reason you into it, it's not true. For instance, right now I'm speaking to you in English. I learned this philosophy in a language called Tamil. Okay? Now, if I have to explain this to you, and if I simply say, come learn Tamil only, then I can explain to you. No. There is infinite knowledge available in the native language that I've learned. There's infinite knowledge that is available in the language which I'm talking now. How do you bridge this gap? There is a reasonable reason behind it, what we call as meaning. Each word in this language expressed in a certain form has a meaning in the other word. Okay? It may not express the word as it is. Say, for instance, yesterday there was a class when I was talking to people. They were talking about manonmani, or the extreme gem in ourself, which is right in the mid of our brain near our pineal gland. And they were talking about how to activate the gem in the head. Okay, I simply said there is a saying in Buddhist form. What they call is Om Mani Padme Om. Okay, that's how they say Om Mani Padme Om. So if anybody who have learned through Buddhist form of life, but do you really know that's not how you say the word? Okay, if you have to say Om Mani Padme Om, this is how you do it. That's how the extreme sound of Om Mani Padme Om is expressed. I'm saying Om Mani Padme Om. Om Mani Om Mani Om Mani Om Mani Om. It feels like I'm murmuring something, but it is the actual sound that is generated from this extreme one. There is a difference between how the mantra has to be said versus how the mantra is explained. When you learn, you are at the learning phase. When you experience, it's in the experience phase. I explained to you at the learning phase, this is what I can do. When I experience in you in an experienced phase, that's completely different. That's what people say, like, okay, you're saying all these things, but I'm not able to experience it. I'm saying, like, fine. Come one day, sit with me. I won't talk to you at all. Meditate as I meditate. Walk as I walk. I won't utter a single word out of my mind. But at the end of the day, when we depart, you would have learned a lot more than what I've said through words. It's not something that is magical. You will be easily able to understand. Many a times I have walked with these masters and without a single word, I just simply walk. One time I was walking Arya, Lachmananaya, my wife, kids, his wife, and everybody were talking to each other and everything. All he did was he had his hand behind, says, let's walk to Maharishi's Mani Mandapam, where his mortal remains is there. And I was walking with my hands folded. I was looking down as I was walking. He had his hand behind and was looking up and he was walking. Everybody was talking. I never spoke a single word with him. He never said anything to me. We were just simply walking. It's probably about 5-10 minutes of walk. And then he said, like, yeah, I've told what I have to tell you. And then I turned around and said, I have heard what you have told me. And people were like, you were not even talking to each other. How did this happen? We did not answer each other, or we didn't tell anybody. We just smiled. And then I told, what about this avocado tree? And everybody was surprised. Because there was an avocado tree. Maharishi used to love avocados when he was in US, especially a special one from California. So when Lachmananaya, who used to work for Indian agricultural thing, he now works in Arya and he works on blessing the plant and making yields better and getting seeds which are highly effective. He said, like, yeah, Maharishi loved avocados. So when he went to California, he specifically got the Hass avocado from California seed. And he planted it here. It grew, but he never gave an avocado. So he said he went to Maharishi and he said, like, you love avocados. I got one and I planted it here. The tree did grow and many years. It's supposed to be yielding by now, but it is not. And then Maharishi turned around and he said, it will yield when it has to yield. Everybody was like, can you tell me when? Can you tell me when? And can you tell me when? And Lachmanaya said, I never asked him a question. And then the following year, it yielded. And Maharishi did have the avocado from the tree. And then he moved on to beyond his physical. He said, when time has to happen, it has to happen. Till now, he said he never questioned physically what he was saying, but spiritually, I was able to understand what he was trying to say. Unfortunately, I did not understand. I had to use his words. But what he was trying to say is, when I was working, something like this, okay? It's not about how much knowledge you gain. It's not about how much you try and showcase that how much you have learned and how much experience you have done. When you are in spiritual path and if you're going to teach spirituality, do not take people into false pretext. This is clearly what he said in the silence. Do not take people into pretext of assumption that you have an extreme power and they don't. divinity is spread across equally to all of us. There is nothing magical about it. The more you spread this, the more humbleness you get. The more humbleness you get, the more reasoning you can be. The divine nature will open up to you and people will listen to you, not as magical, but as a person who can take them to any given heights. But always remember, even if you go to any heights, a single mistake can pull you down to an extreme state where it will be extremely difficult for you to pull you up. Always be humble, be open, and do not take anybody under false pretext that this can be done and this can be cured. You have to be an enabler who can enable people to understand and realize what they are, rather than forcing them to do things. From that day on, I stopped marketing Sky at all. I only tell if people have to learn, let them come and learn. I'm not going to go and market or preach myself saying, oh, this is what it is and everything. This forum is open. There's classes that I take. Like 2 weeks ago, I did the foundation course where I was telling. Many people where it came in and said, oh, interested, okay, do you have a class and everything? I simply said that you are in a WhatsApp group, you are in a foundation course, a fundamental class. Go to them, ask them if your master decides this is the right thing to do, your center decides what needs to be done, you can. This is an open forum, anybody can join. But I'm not going to market myself and say, come here, I will teach you all these things. If you have to, come over. We will explore everything together. There is no magic. It is true. There is an order. There is an existence. Okay? So you will have to be able to explain things in a reasonable way in a different state. So in Thuriam state, there is timelessness. You will have to experience the timelessness. Only then you start stepping into the next stage, which is what Maharishi said. Up until Thuriam, okay, there are 7 chakras. As I told you, beyond 7, there are 22 chakras you need to traverse through. And extremely, you have to go through these 22 chakras to get to the 23rd chakra. And that is the reason why I said you will be able to traverse those chakras through the 7 chakras in your body, and the value of pi is approximately equal to 22 by 7. It's not the right value. It's approximately equal to 22 by 7. And any slokas in Sanskrit starts with Om, followed by a single monosyllable, followed by the rest of the class, exactly matching the value of pi, 3.141 something, 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 to infinite state. Okay? And that's the reason why they said every slokas, everything, every mantra you say, you have to start with Om, followed by a pause, followed by the syllables that starts. And that first syllable always starts with 1, followed by a 4, followed by a 1, and then the knowledge of the person. So it's mathematically precise, and it also measures the entire universe. You can measure the entire universal existence through the 7 chakras in your body by measuring the other 22 chakras and going beyond. Okay? Dwadasangam, which is 1 feet above your head, is the 12th chakra. That is the border of your aura. Okay? So if you want to clearly see it, wake up in the morning, do meditation, sit in front of the mirror, look at yourself. You have the mirror gazing meditation. Close your eyes, open up, and see the starting point that rotates around the top of your head, which is the 12th chakra. You will also be able to see others chakra in various degrees of yellowish color around your body. And that is extremely explainable. There is no reason that I cannot say. So the 12th, 1 feet above your head, is the 12th chakra. There's also a reason why it's called Dwadasa. Dwa is 2, Dasa is 10. Dwadasangam is the 12th one, is approximately 12 inches above your head, and it also is the 12th chakra from the base of Muladhara. Okay. Thank you. Sorry for transgressing and giving you more trivias, but
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Waragalam. Any questions you have? Any concerns?
Good morning, Thuran.
Hey, Blanca, good morning.
You said 12?
12
And
chakra.
everybody says 7?
No, Dwada Sangam is the 12th chakra.
Okay.
Okay. We have the 7, which is this 7 chakras. We have to attain the extreme state through, which is the 23rd chakra or beyond the 22nd chakra. You have to measure that through the 7 chakras. That's the reason why pi is approximately equal to 22/7. Mathematical precisions in every mantra that you do. For instance, your Gayatri mantra, this is Om, followed by a pause, Bhur Bhuva Swaha, Tatsaviturvarenyam, which basically 3.141, and the mantra goes through. Every mantra starts with an Om. It's the reason why. It's because you will have to traverse through all these things consciously. And if you are able to attain one properties of God that Maharishi says, either plenum, vatra iruppu in Tamil, force, Shakti, consciousness, arivu, time, neram. If you are able to get through one of them, you will definitely be able to experience the 4 properties, which will lead you into this amazing existence of God state. You can call it a state, you can call it an existence, but that's something is absolutely explainable. And that's what we are also trying to do in our next session, which is about to start now, is how does these properties work and how does these property exists in a beautiful form that can be explainable reasonably through the existing scientific terms as well as merging the philosophy into science. That's the beauty of it, is it's explainable, it's reasonable, it can be reasoned, but we have to build our ideas as we go through it. Back then, when they were trying to explain the eclipse, people didn't understand. How do you explain eclipse? What happens during eclipse phenomena? They didn't know. So all they said is like a snake. Okay, it's exactly the same thing. Snake is there. The sun is right there. The snake engulfs the sun. Okay, it eats the sun. When you look at this now, I can explain it very, very much more scientifically. It's all about Earth's magnetism. When sun is right there, beating down on Earth, the Earth's magnetic shield is formed like a snake. When eclipse happens, what happens is that beating down stops. At that extreme time, what happens? Earth's magnetic shield, which is like this in a tail form, opens up like this, which looks like a snake swallowing its prey. So they said it in a simple term. Now, if I tell you about the magnetism that's happening around it, you can go and look at NASA's picture of Earth. You will see the sun here beating down the Earth's head, followed by a huge tail. Looks like a snake. When eclipse happens, the magnetism reverses and feels like this is closing the sun or eating the sun. Simple terms, they explained it. But now if I can explain to you, I can explain to you beautifully through magnetism. Similarly, that's what we are trying to do in this life force, where we try to see how our own life force is generated through us, going out of our body or inside our body, coming back to our Mooladhara in a beautiful cycle form. And hopefully we'll be able to explain better in the in a more equatic form that is reasonably accepted to humankind. So it's 10:02 now, so we move into research and development on life force and life force particles. I see Miraya joined. Vijayalakshmi Amma, you can take it from here. Vargalam.
Let us start with the meditation, Ayya.
Vargalam. Yeah, we can start meditation. We can quickly do a Thuriam and get into our topic today. I'll quickly take into meditation. Varga Vayagam, Varga Vayagam, Varga.